Hello, everyone. This is ZinoNation episode 5. This is May. What is it today? May is it 20th, 2019. I'm here with my co-host Marcus Crawford from beautiful Idaho. Marcus, how are you tonight?
Well, not bad, not bad. Gosh, Ron, a lot of things going on. Probably for ZinoNation, one of the most significant is that they did drop a new firmware today.
Finally.
Yep, yep.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. Be one of our going to be a first topic, but we also want to touch on you've had a couple successful flights of the Fimi X8 after your prop incident. We want to touch on DJI released a new action camera last week, the Osmo Action, which I think will get in the hands of consumers by tomorrow. And we want to touch a little bit on the new FFA rules. We're not going to go into a real deep dive. We're going to cover that in more detail on Coast to Coast Drones on Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a good panel on there, so everybody tune in. We're going to take a real deep dive. But Marcus and I just touch on it just a little bit tonight. So do you have anything else, Marcus? Do you want to get right into the Zino?
Ron, you missed probably one of the biggest points of this whole week.
I did.
And that was the Game of Thrones finale.
I did.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's shocked about how that turned out. Just joking, of course.
Yeah, I'm still watching, and the Starbucks cup was missing from the last episode, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, the big news though is we'll just tease it here, and then we'll go into it later. Marcus, didn't you receive a high performance aerial drone in the mail today?
Man, yeah. So geez, I'm glad you brought that up, Ron.
It kind of rivals the Mavic 2 Pro or the Mavic 2, right? In terms of performance.
Yeah, they really this is probably the first really real competitor from Mavic 2. So I don't know how many people have seen it already. In fact, I'm quite sure some of them probably have. But yeah, this is the JJRC egg drone. Man, I mean, for God's sakes, guys, it's gold. What else can you ask for? This little guy. I'm sorry, I can't help but laughing. This little guy's been around. So our friend Brian Singleton over at True Drone Reviews did a couple of really good reviews of this drone. And then Ron Brown got a hold of this baby. And if you see, I encourage you to look at Ron's review because it's comprehensive and literally tells the whole story. And it's the kind of information everybody wants. And then after Ron was done with it, and Ron will probably admit he did have to do the walk of shame in one part of that. But yours truly, I'm going to get a hold of this. Oh, look at that thing, man.
That scared me.
Yeah, I know. It's like some kind of alien contraption. So yeah.
You wouldn't get that from a Mavic Pro or anything. Couldn't do that, or
yeah. Could a Mavic do that? Heck no. Yeah, all right. So the egg will fly.
A video coming soon to the Marcus Crawford network of shows, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, nothing but fun. I like your idea of pass around some little toy drones and stuff. I think that's fun.
Remember, say it, Marcus. Drone exchange.
Drone exchange.
Hashtag drone exchange. If you have a drone, and not I'm going to say you don't want it, but you've kind of got all the enjoyment you can out of it. Share it with somebody else. It's cheap. Tell them this. I sent this drone to Marcus. I live in New Jersey, suburban Philadelphia right now. I took it to the post office on Saturday morning. My favorite, postal employee, put the sticker on it, and Marcus got it on Monday. So that's 2 days, and it made it what I'm going to say 80–90% of the way across the country.
It did.
That's amazing. And it takes a month for a drone to arrive from China, but you can go from New Jersey, which is on the East Coast, to Idaho, which is almost on the West. You're just one state away from being on the West Coast, right?
Yeah. Right to Oregon, and Oregon is on the coast. Yeah, I'm 50 miles from Oregon.
It almost went coast to coast. Hashtag coast to coast drones, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. So the little egg made it. I should have just flew the little egg out to you like on a waypoint mission or something, right?
It might have caught the jet stream. No, the jet stream goes the other way. It would have ended up out in the middle of the Atlantic or something.
Hey, Marcus, all we needed was maybe a 5-mile-per-hour westerly wind, and it would have made it.
Yeah. Hey, look who just showed up, Ron. Trudone Reviews himself.
Oh, hold it up. Hold the egg up again, Marcus.
Here it is.
There you are. That's for you, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
While Brian's on the air, Brian, I got a surprise for you. Look what came in the mail today. The JJR 360 high-performance photography drone. Thank you so much, Brian. I think being that this is a 360 drone, I may use my Insta360 camera to film it. It may be the first video filmed entirely with 360 on the ground and in the air. What do you think of that idea, Marcus?
I think that'd be, I think that would rock it.
Yeah, rocket.
Yeah.
But, Brian supplies more drones to reviewers than Banggood and GearBest combined.
He absolutely does, and I think it's a great idea. And so, Brian, what we were talking about was, we need to put a collage together of everybody's videos with those drones as they go around.
Brian, I hope you saved the clip from the golden egg drone that you can send one of us, so we can combine clips and make a collage of clips from the JJRC golden goose or golden egg. I call it the golden egg drone. Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's real gold too in there, Marcus. So don't chip that thing up, okay?
Be careful with that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Be careful. Well, listen, we've done the Bad Comedy Show here for 5 minutes, so let's dig into some real news. I mean, really, let's get to the heart of the matter. The top story today has to be the Zino firmware update. Do you remember the firmware update numbers?
Yeah, hang on, I still got them
at your fingertips.
Well, I had the file open, but 0.51 is the one. Hang on, I'm opening the file right now, and I'm going to tell you. But the only one that was upgraded was the 0.5, the flight control.
Flight control, the FC.
0.51. Hang on, and I'm going to open up the release notes too.
I'll do song and dance while you're opening up the stuff. But an aside though, nothing else needs to be updated. The camera, they got the camera, everything else is right. The flight control is the only thing they need. The gimbal's fine. All they need is to get the flight controller fine tuned. Yeah.
So let me walk through this.
Go ahead. Walk us through.
The flight controller is upgraded to FC V1.1.51, and then the gimbal, which did not change, is still V3.0.2.2, and then the FPV firmware, the camera, is V0.3.5.UB25. Now, so the only one that changed is that first one, the FC firmware. The thing that's important to remember that that Hubsan asks you to do is they want you to upgrade them all. In other words, even if the other two haven't changed, they still want you to load that firmware, and they ask you to do it in order. So you do the flight control firmware first, then the gimbal firmware, and then the camera firmware or the FPV firmware. And then let me open up the changelog here, which is a little, they really don't give you much information. So basically, it was a copy of the last changelog, and then they have two items highlighted in red. And what they're saying is they optimize the drone's behavior for losing altitude in auto takeoff mode. Well,
AKA the Hubson drop.
yeah, that's right. We all call it the Hubson drop. And you know, in all my reviews, I've done a bunch of them. Every time there's a new firmware update, I throw it out there. And that Hubson drop is really meaningless. You know, I made a big deal out of it because it was fun to put in a review. But at the end of the day, you just give it a little upstick, and it just really is nothing. But I guess we've all made fun of it enough that Hubson decided to do something about it. So
Marcus, some big time YouTube reviewers have done a 25-minute video review of the Zino and only focused on the Hubson drop. I won't say any names, but
yeah,
you know who I'm talking about.
I do indeed. I do indeed. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. He's a big time reviewer too. So that said, then the other thing they said is that they added a function that enables the throttle stick to control the drone during return to home and auto land, which I don't know why that would be such a big deal, because if it's in return to home and I wanted to take control of it, I was just hit cancel, and I mean, and then immediately you had control. So, but evidently they must have had people asking for that, so that's in there. But I don't mean to steal all the showtime here, Ron, but the one issue that is on everybody's mind with regard to the Zino is when it loses connection. In other words, if you go out to max range and the drone loses connection, in the past, it would immediately initiate a return to home and start coming back to you. With the last firmware upgrade, 0.50, it would not do that. It would wait until it got to a percentage of battery, and I don't remember exactly what that was. And then it would initiate return to home. You could get it to do it manually by turning off the controller, and then it would start coming back. You could turn your controller back on, regain control of the drone, and do whatever you wanted. But it is a little disconcerting when the thing goes out there and all you see is a frozen screen, and you don't know what it's doing, and you definitely want it to come back.
And for reference, that the Zino never had that issue until the most recent firmware upgrade before this one. So firmware update created this issue, an issue that wasn't there before. And if this firmware update doesn't get it back to where it was, without stopping that from happening, this will be a failed upgrade in my mind. Yeah.
So of course that's one of the first things that I'm going to check when I when I do my test. So I got all the. In fact, I just finished all the upgrades just right before the show. I did all the firmware updates, and then in addition to that, obviously I had that experience with the props on the Fimi X8 SE. So I went ahead and checked the torque on all of these screws. And I think it's kind of interesting. I've never paid that much attention to propellers, and so I had that issue. But the way the Zino works is that pin, it has threads on the very end of it, and it actually threads right into the body of the motor. And also the other thing that people knock Hubson, but Hubson if you look at your new little package of screws with your props, it actually has a little bit of thread locker on the end.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just from the factory. So they lock down pretty good. Now, I had a couple of bad props from when I augered it into the ground there one time. So I went ahead and replaced those props and checked all the torque. And by the way, nothing was loose. So that's a good thing.
Good. I know this has nothing to do with the new firmware update, and I won't be able. I'm going to be busy on the road all day tomorrow, so I won't be able to upgrade and test. I'm going to try to do it on Wednesday, but I know you will probably try to get out tomorrow.
I am definitely going to get out. Well, we've had a lot of rainy weather here, so if we have just any kind of break in the weather, I'm going to get out and I'll fool around a little bit on the ground. But the big thing I want to do is I'll take it out to max range and see if it returns to home, and hopefully it does.
A little update, and this has nothing to do with the firmware update you're talking to, but a couple firmware updates back when we got the camera controls, I did a test flight and I said changing the camera, things like color and contrast, things like that, it didn't help. It only hurt the picture. But I flew this weekend, and I noticed that they now the camera settings, the corrections for color and exposure actually work, and they actually do help improve your video now. So I haven't talked about that since I made that video, maybe back in February or March. I did want to update that, you can change the things in settings to actually make an improvement now. Before, you would actually degrade the video rather than help it. So if anybody saw that video I'm talking about, you'll know what I mean. Have you played with those settings recently, Marcus?
Ron, I gotta be honest with you. I throw that baby in automatic, and the only thing I'll change is like sometimes if it's a cloudy day, I'll put that white balance in cloudy, or if it's a sunny day.
Right.
Yeah. On that, I never do.
That's a little photography tip. I don't want to geek out here, but if you do change one thing in the camera settings, always change the auto white balance, because if you don't, like put it on sunny, cloudy, something like that. If you leave it on auto, it's usually hard for your computer to correct. Like if you put it in your software and you hit like the fix button, it has a harder time fixing the white balance on auto than it does if you actually set it to either sunny or cloudy. So pick one or the other rather than just go with auto. That kind of works on kind of any camera, any drone, any camera, whether it's on a drone or whether it's your GoPro or whatever. Try to stay away from auto white balance as much as possible. But that being said, Marcus, can I take a break and shout out the people in the chat room?
Heck yeah.
And then we'll move on to our next story, unless you have some more in the Zino, but let me review the chat room here. Okay, tonight we have with us, John Coopy's in the house with us. Congrats, John. Just purchased a new house, a beautiful new house. It looks like it was newly built too. So he has a short video where he flew the Mavic around it. So everybody check out John's video with his new house. We got Bill Thomas from Coast to Coast Drones in here with us tonight. We have a Florida State grad with us. We have Perth West OZRC in the house. Dave with us. Dave has a new video up, an exciting new drone. It's called the Beast drone. It's an S. I can't remember the letters and numbers, but it's known as the Beast. It's like a kind of a Mavic type of foldable drone. He hasn't posted the flight video yet, but he has a nice unboxing. It's a promising new drone. Better with the drones in here with us tonight. Of course, True Drone Reviews. Brian Singleton's with us. Let's see here. Marcus Crawford's with us. Dennis is with us. Dennis Niffler. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I'm bad at pronouncing names. Cigar Nation Warriors is with us here tonight. We got Christopher H in here, and so we have some really good people in here tonight. Some regulars. Christopher H corrected me. It's the SG906. If you're still with us, Dave, why don't you post a link to your unboxing and first look video in the chat here. In fact, I'm going to give Dave the what do you call that little thing? The wrench. While I'm working on that, because old man, I need full concentration. Move on to our next story, Marcus.
Yeah. Okay. So I will talk a little bit about the Fimi X8. So that original crash that I had was well reported with the prop that came apart. It didn't have a screw in it, and you could argue that I should have spotted that on a pre-flight inspection. Although I'm not certain that it didn't fall out when I picked up the drone, but regardless, that kind of shook me up, and so I was a little nervous about flying that drone. And so now I'm a couple flights in, and last week I took it out south of Meridian, Idaho, where I live, quite a ways south out on the desert, and had a really good flight with it. And I'm really starting to get a feel for that thing. And, you know, we all, you know, a lot of Zino fans, and the Zino is pretty cool. But from a power perspective, that Fimi X8, it's like flying a sports car. It is really fast. It is at least as fast and as responsive as the Mavic 2, which, of course, what's going to happen? I'm going to have to get them both out and do some speed tests, right? Because I'm telling you, that Fimi X8 will get with the program. You're looking at something off in the distance and you want to go take a picture of it, boy, it is there in no time. So that's good, and it's really easy to control. I had some fairly high winds. The app on my phone said, like, I think it said like 10 or 12 mile an hour winds, something like that. They were all of that day, if not more. I'm sure they were probably closer to 15 or maybe even a little better. And it was really interesting watching that drone tilt into the wind, and it really cut through it. So I'm starting to get impressed with that thing. And I did have, on my next flight after the crash, I had a little bit of horizon tilt issues with the camera. The third flight, I didn't see that. So anyway, I'm not going on. Hey,
Marcus, can you include the egg drone in that speed test too? I think you're going to have to, you know, mention him in there with the sports car drones.
Well, you know what I'd probably have to do, Ron? I'd probably have to fold it up, and I'd probably have to fire it out of like a. You familiar with a potato gun? Anybody here that's been out in the country knows what a potato gun is. You take a piece of PVC pipe, you spray a little hairspray in there, and you put a potato in the end and light the other end, and boom, it's like a cannon. That's probably how we could get this to go that fast.
So you're getting close to certifying the Fimi X8 as a certified Marcus Crawford buy.
Well, you know what? I'm getting closer, so I should probably add a couple things. So of course, I was in touch with Fimi throughout that whole thing. And I will say this, their customer service people were spot on. I mean, there was no waiting days and days and days for communication back and forth. They communicated very well. But, and I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm off base with this. I thought that was kind of a crazy incident. So I told them, I said, listen, the thing is actually in pretty good shape. I would, you know, I definitely, I felt like they should send me some more props, because I had to use the one spare prop that they give you. They give you one clockwise, one counterclockwise spare is all. So I had to use that. So I said, hey, send me a set of props. And I said, you know what? I said, for my time and trouble, how about you send me another battery? And holy cow, absolutely not. They just couldn't do that. No way. So I said, so I emailed them back, and I said, well, you could if you wanted to. They said, no, we can't do that. So I said, okay, just send me the props. So I don't know if I was asking too much or not.
I want to back up just for a second, Mark, because I saw when we were rambling on here, Better with a Drone from beautiful Chicago, Illinois. He said, when we were talking about the updates, he said, I'm still experiencing disconnects from my Zino. Now, without notice, the FPV signal drops and it goes to return to home with no option to exit. Mostly happens if I fly straight overhead. Do you have any thoughts on that, Marcus?
I do. So anytime you have the Zino right directly above you, so because the way that Wi-Fi signal works, and I am not a technical guy, but I've had it explained to me that it's kind of a donut. So if it gets directly above you, you will almost always lose connection. Now, I've never had that experience that you're talking about, not being able to cancel RTH, because I've had that happen, and I've always been able to say, no, don't come home. But if you're still having disconnect issues routinely when the drone is further out, I would suggest reloading go through all of the firmware updates again. One of the things that solved when I initially started flying the Zino, I almost always had disconnect problems along the way. And one of the things that they identified was when you upgrade the FC firmware, it tells the drone or the software to pull the SD card, looking for the upgrade files for the FPV. And it'll just keep doing that, and it'll be trying to upgrade. And if it doesn't find them, that's when you'll get disconnects. So when you upgrade the FC firmware, do it in order. Do FC, then do the gimbal firmware, then do the FPV firmware. And I can't speak for others, but I can tell you that solved all of my connection problems. And boy, ever since then, it's been very robust. I can go out clear to just not quite. I've never been able to get a kilometer out, but I get out to about 980 meters and it loses connection.
I've had probably every possible thing ever happen to my Zino. I've had every issue anybody's ever had, but the one thing I've never had with the Zino, I've never had a disconnect, FPV or control of the aircraft. That's the one thing I've never experienced. I mean, I've had like the color flashes on the camera, the not flying straight. I can't think of. I've had everything almost anybody's had at some point, but I've never had a connection issue, again, either FPV or flight controller. So and I don't normally fly over my head. Like even if I'm flying circles, I don't normally bring it over my head except when I'm bringing it down. And I guess if it's coming down and return to home, it doesn't matter. I don't know, but again, I've never had it, but again, I don't do awful lot of flying straight over my head. Could it be your angle of your antennas too?
It's
overhead?
Very possible. Very possible. The other thing that I want to say, Ron, is it is interesting that we've had different experiences. The experience that you had with the color flashes, we both started early with the Zino. I never had any of those problems. I never had the color flashes that a bunch of people did.
But yet you solved the color flash problem for me. No matter, how many conversations I had with Hubson, it's Marcus Crawford has solved my color flashes by saying I should get a 32 disc SanDisk memory card, a U3 or whatever. And I was using, I don't know what I had, the 60. I tried every memory card I had. I had 64s. I had, 16s, U3s, U1s, but when Marcus told me that memory card, I put it in, and I haven't seen one since. And people were telling me send it back, and you had bad hardware, and
that's honestly what I think. Yeah, I thought that they're never going to fix that camera problem with a firmware update, but it worked, and you got to remember to format that card to FAT32. It's really the Zino is really sensitive to that SD card. No, a lot of people that's the other thing. People that have disconnection issues. If you have an SD card that's too slow, don't ask me. I'm not a electronics guy. I don't know why it does it, but it can cause disconnection issues. And I see we have Gorilla Man in the house, and he'll probably agree with that. And then one more comment. Christopher H is talking about how he prefers the Parrot. The Parrot is a phenomenal drone, man. I think both Ron and I know Gorilla Man has one.
Hold on, Chris. We're going to get to the Parrot here. We're going to give the Parrot its 5 or 10 minutes of time here, so hang in there. Now, Better with the Drone says, thanks for the consult.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the disconnects when the Zeno is downrange much. But I hope any of Marcus' suggestions help better with the drone with its connection issues. It's worth trying anything at this point, because sometimes you think, again, you think you have bad hardware, and it's just as simple as thing as you said about doing the firmware upgrades in order, or memory cards, or so don't give up.
Hey,
Gorilla Man says, "Did I miss the Zeno update?" Oh yeah, Gorilla Man. We Marcus, give him a 30-second recap.
I already beat that to death, GM. No. So let me give a shout out to Gorilla Man. If you have either a Zeno or a Paradenofi or a Fimi X8 SE, he's got all three, and he has some phenomenal videos out there. There's almost nothing that he doesn't test and check out. So he he says bite me. So anyway, you need to go check out his channel. But we did go through all that, and really, Gorilla Man, all I talked about was the order in which to do the updates. I haven't flown it yet. I'm going to hopefully get out and fly it tomorrow, but I did have all the updates done, and I was telling everybody to check the torque on those screws on the props. I've had bad luck with that in the past, and while I was at it, from the little crash that I had with the Zeno where I ran it into the ground, I did beat up a couple props, so I put some new props on it today.
Okay, and Marcus and I were talking before the show. We're going to have maybe a subscriber of the month, and Gorilla Man will definitely be the first ZinoNation subscriber of the month, right, Marcus?
Well, if he'll come on the show sometime, you mean?
Oh, listen, Christopher H. He's talking about Nafi. He says, "Let's go, Nafi Nation." Marcus, you want to change the show right over to a Nafi Nation right now?
Well, I think what we should do.
No, I mean just for 5 minutes.
Oh heck yeah! Darn
yeah.
Right.
Okay. It's no longer ZinoNation right now. It's a Nafi Nation. Let's go, Marcus. Tell us your story about the Nafi landing issues.
Well, I got to be kind of sensitive here because Gorilla Man had some kind of similar things going on. So I had at one point. And part of it is my own fault for my technique with doing a palm landing being wrong. But that said, the other day I don't know, it's been a couple weeks ago actually, I was landing it on the landing pad. Now I was just bringing the drone down using the sticks, landing it on the pad. The drone came down and the motors wouldn't shut off. It just was hopping around and flopping around, and when things like that happen, you need to calm down and just figure things out. Well, I didn't. I kept holding the stick down, trying to shut off the motors, and they wouldn't shut down. Now, I didn't try both sticks out or both sticks in, trying to kill the motor, so I don't even know if that works on the Anafi. But I didn't try that. The other thing that I thought later that I should have done is I should have just taken off again. I should have given it some throttle, let it take off, and then maybe just push the land button. But I didn't do any of that. I walked over and I hit the power button on the back of the drone, which was interesting to do while the propellers were going. So then fast forward a couple weeks later, and I actually learned from watching Gorilla Man's videos how to do that hand launch and palm landing. So the hand launch is just phenomenal on the Anafi. It's just the coolest thing that there ever was. That hand launch, you just hit the takeoff button, and you'll have a countdown on the FPV screen there. And as soon as it hits 3, you throw it in the air, and it just takes off. It is really cool. Now, the palm landing, you're supposed to be able to hold your palm out, hit the land button on the controller, and it's supposed to see your palm and land. Well, it kind of does. It comes down on your palm, but then the motors don't shut off. Or I should say, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So I was up at the lake, or at the reservoir, Lucky Peak Reservoir, and I decided to do I did one palm landing that turned out kind of okay. And then the second time I did it, and I'm just holding it there. It's in my palm and the motors wouldn't shut off. I did not hit the land button again, which I maybe should have tried, but I was holding the stick down and they just wouldn't shut off. And it felt like it was trying to take off. So the dumbass that I am, I freaking let go of it, thinking it would be just like that launch. It would take off again. So no, it hits the ground, of course. Well, fortunately, I was on soft dirt and it didn't hurt the drone at all. But I think my palm landing days are over.
Christopher H says that Marcus definitely needs to do a reset on that Anafi. We talked a little bit about that off air. Yeah,
Christopher. So I looked at some instructions there, and I am gonna do that. And Gorilla Man, actually, he had some instructions on his channel on how to do that.
So Gorilla Man says he thinks the X8 actually hand launches better than the Anafi.
Haven't tried it yet, GM, but I definitely will. The one thing I like about the Zino is so cool for hand launch and hand landing, because you got this big thing here you can hang on to. So when you taking off, I just hold it in this hand, and with the controller I hit the takeoff button, and it literally just rises up out of your hand. That's pretty cool. And then the landing. So what I do is, God, there was somebody's video. Al Duran. He was coming at it from the front, trying to grab a hold of the drone. I would not do that. I come at it from the side. I get it right next to me. And then the thing is, you can just grab it. There's this big part right here, and you're well clear of the props. And then just hold the stick down, and it shuts off instantly. Anyway, so the Zino works really good for hand launch and hand landing.
Well, let's give the Anafi its due. Marcus and I both bought the Anafi from the same reseller, and they were refurbished units. And Marcus has had some issues with his as far as the landing. It won't even land on the pad correctly a lot of times. He has to. You've had to turn the battery off in the past, right?
Yeah. So listen, I'm going to take some responsibility there for two things. I'm going to agree with Christopher. I need to do that reset. I need to do that. A, and then B, I need to try. I think it was dumb of me just to hold the stick down and not try either taking off and hitting the land button, or sticks in and sticks out.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's a parrot.
Here's what we do with this. We hit this, and then we hit the red button, and it's all over.
Wow, folks, did you see that? It was a landline there.
Yeah, who has one of those?
Anyways, I'm going to go and say we both bought parrots off the same reseller. My parrot, I thank the drone gods. I haven't had an issue with it at all. I'm not a hand catcher, but I mean, it lands on the ground perfectly every time. The thing flies beautifully. I mean, the only issue I have is a known issue. If I get it near a lot of Wi-Fi, hotspots, houses, the FPV will go a little bad on me. But if you get it away from the homes, it's the FPV solid. The range is good. I'm really getting used to the camera. I mean, I haven't changed the memory card out, which Marcus and I have had a lot of discussions about putting a better memory card in. And that probably will improve my video. The video is good as it is. But, I mean, I would go so far as to say that all around, the Anafi is the best drone I've ever owned that I paid less than $500 for. I mean, it lacks the obstacle avoidance of, say, all the DJI drones. But if you can live without obstacle avoidance, I mean, at that price point, a couple $100 cheaper than the Air and not much more than the Spark, I really think is the value of the thing. Now, I haven't flown Marcus's X8 yet, but I mean, that's also a considerably bigger drone than the Anafi. If you want a small drone that weighs not much at all, again, I think the Anafi is my favorite small drone under $500 all around. I love the dolly zoom, and yeah, that zoom feature kind of just sets it apart from everything else in this category. And we did hear a rumor that Spark 2, supposedly, reportedly coming out later this summer, may have a zoom in it too, which that'll level the playing field a little bit. But I'm really happy and excited about the Anafi, Christopher H. I couldn't agree with you more. It's my first drone. I've already got a second one. Brian sent me out the little SWAT kind of Mambo drone, and it's really nice too. But again, I'm really impressed with that Anafi. It got a lot of bad press when it came out last summer, a lot of mixed reviews. But Brian Singleton, my buddy, always talked up that drone when other people poo-pooed it. He really, spoke its virtues, and he was right. And I know it's improved a lot through firmware updates over the course of, the past 9 months. But thanks, Brian, for recommending that drone. You were spot on that one. What do you got there for us, Marcus?
Well, I just wanted to double down on what you're saying. So really, I suppose we probably both have to thank Brian for getting us onto this thing. It's just phenomenal for the money. Ron and I paid, and Gorilla Man too. I know he got his at the same place, $445 for this guy refurb. And by the way, they're out of them now, sadly. So that deal is no longer out there. But the capabilities that this thing brings to the table is just phenomenal. The issues, there were a couple of issues that I quibbled with at first and have resolved them. One is the range issue. I took it out with that same day that I was out at Lucky Peak. I had it out 1.2 kilometers, which that's as far as I ever need to fly a drone. I mean, I don't know if you're out there any further than that. I'm not sure what you're looking for. And it did absolutely fine. And then the other issue that I had was with the I just turned it on, tapping it. So the other issue that I had, there we go. We're going through the gimbal setup here. So the other issue that I had was with the memory card. That 16 gigabyte memory card that they give you is only, I could never, there, I got it shut off here finally. So I could never get I always shoot in 4K, and the card would always fill up before I was done with a battery. And then I tried a 32 gigabyte SanDisk U3 card. And this is another drone that has to have FAT32, is my understanding. And I did format it within. What's cool about the Anafi is it will partition, if you've got a bigger than 32 gigabyte, it will partition the card for you and then format the partitions in FAT32. So I did that, and that one still did not work. I just couldn't get it to work. So then I just went to just a 32 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme U3 card, and I formatted it before I put it in here, and then I formatted it within the app, and man, it works perfect. So that's all I need. It's got all the memory I'm ever going to need. So
Marcus, that's the same card that's recommended for the Zino.
That's exactly right. I use exactly the same card. Yeah, it's a good point.
So I got to go to Amazon and order a second one of those exact cards. Yeah. Gorilla Man asking there if we have tried Flight Plan yet. That's the what do you call it? The where you kind of plan your flight out ahead of time.
Hey, I haven't, GM. I need to try that. So you're saying it's pretty good, huh? I like that. Yeah, I know other people have raved about it.
Brian Singleton, I can't keep dropping Brian's name. Brian's not paying us for these plugs now. He may be sending his free drones, but he's not paying us. He also highly recommends the waypoints. Is what I'm trying. I couldn't spit out waypoints earlier. He recommends the Flight Plan waypoints. He says it's as good as any one he's ever seen. Of course, I think he's on Leachy now, so he may retract that. But I've looked. I have it available. I bought the Flight Plan thing. I've looked at it, but I haven't actually done one yet.
Well, Brian's got a new video out about it, I believe. I haven't seen it yet, but I didn't you just do a video, Brian?
Yeah, he flew. Yeah, he has one recently. Yeah.
Yeah, and GM says you only pay 99 cents. Absolutely, buddy. 99 cents for what the two parts of it. There's the flight plan, and I can't remember what the other one is that came with it.
I would say the price of a coffee, but you can't get a coffee for 99 cents.
Yeah, well, so yeah, but see, here's the thing with GM. He's up there in Canada, so he goes to Tim Horton and probably gets better coffee than we can get, and so he paid $1.49. So come on, GM.
Marcus, we have to make a road trip up to Canada someday to fly with Grill Man, right?
There you go. I'd be all over that.
Yeah. Well, Grill Man, we're gonna. What part of Canada does he live in? What territory?
Yeah, so he's up. He's not in. Oh gosh, how much? Lakeshore in Ontario.
Okay, so there would be a video. Marcus Aron in Veda, Ontario.
There you go.
All right. Well, let's see here. Chris, this is Chris Ray says, for the flight plan, please set the height of each point. The default is 3 meters. You know, Chris Ray is right. And I did try the flight plan at beach one time. I forgot about this. And you're right. I didn't set the height, then it went lower and lower and lower until I figured out that it was going to go, like you said, 3 feet, 3 meters. And then I realized what I had to do afterwards. So Chris Rach, that's a great, what do you call it?
Tip.
Public service warning to set that height in the flight planner of the NAFI. It doesn't just default like the DJI drone would just default to whatever it was at, but the NAFI is going to go to the default of 3 meters. So be aware of that, Marcus.
So Ron and Brian, I need to ask you, does that apply to this thing too?
Oh yeah, the waypoints are really good in that. Yeah.
There you go.
You gotta get the app though to get the waypoints. You don't have to pay 99 cents though.
Yeah, the app for this is probably more like $20.
Oh yeah, it's a high performance app.
Yeah, high performance app. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, have we beat the Anafi into the ground yet? You know, we ready to move on to. We're not going to stay a long time on this because it's been covered a lot. But tomorrow is the day. I think the people that ordered the Osmo Action will be receiving their units tomorrow. Do you know of anybody? Actually, is anybody in the chat room receiving the Osmo Action tomorrow? And Marcus, do you know of anybody that's receiving the?
Other than Bill, the drone reviewer, is the only, and we both obviously know him that he's getting it. But other than that, I don't know anybody that bought it.
Marcus, you never wound up hitting that buy button?
Let me tell you, there's some really good points to that product. And if I didn't already have this thing, no doubt that I would have. But I have to tell you, this Hero 7 is a phenomenal piece of technology. And as much as I like the Osmo Pocket, and the Osmo Pocket is phenomenal for what it does, it's just for everyday kind of messing around like most of us. I really think that the Hero 7 is the way to go. Now that said, I'm sure that the Osmo Action is going to be just as capable.
Right. I mean, we've seen the big name reviewers had it early, of course, and they reviewed it, and most of them have gave it glowing reviews. Most have said it's either better than the Hero 7 or just as good, or a lot of real fair ones. They point out it's a few things that the Action does that the Hero 7 does it, and vice versa. So it kind of all depends on what you're into. I mean, both of those cameras are probably good for 80% of the market or higher, but I mean, each one has niche things that the others doesn't. Like the Hero 7 has a GPS in it, which isn't going to mean much to most of the market. But if you're a skier or you're having a bike and you want to show the speed that you're going, it puts a little almost like a gauge in a car, a speedometer showing how fast you're going. And again, that's to a small segment of the market, that's important. To the larger segment of the market, they don't care about stuff like that. So again, and the the Action has some things that they doesn't. And what the Action doesn't have out of the box though is external mic. So for bloggers, the bloggers are going to love that camera on the front of the Action where they can see themselves. But until they get the the setup to take an external mic, they're going to hate the problem that they don't have an external mic, because I saw somebody do a sound test between the two cameras, and I think the Hero 7 sounded better off the built-in mic. Have you seen anything on that, Marcus?
You know, I probably watched a few, but I don't remember any big thing. What we know about a DJI is it'll be comparable, probably. You know, whatever it is going to be fairly minor. But that external mic thing is a big deal. We got a couple things in the chat here. So Parks and Tech says he got his today, so he has one in hand.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah, congratulations, and he's going to put it out. And then John Coopy says G Nemo will have it, and he's right on the money here. We need to tune in to Coast Drones on Wednesday, and I'm sure they'll have some thoughts on it.
I heard a rumor that one of the members of that Coast to Coast drone panels has an Osmo Action on the way. I can't reveal any names at this point, but there may be one to make an appearance live on the show that night. So stay tuned, folks.
That would be cool.
And one spoiler, it won't be me.
Hey, so I just saw something else here. I see that Gorilla Man says that the Parrot, I hate to go backwards here, but the Anafi downloads the map areas, which, well, that's freaking cool.
Now, what's that mean, Marcus?
What's that?
What does he mean by downloads the map?
Well, so that it's available in your app. So in other words, if you're not connected to the internet while you're doing it, you can still have that map.
Yeah.
Am I correct, GM? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. It's not the first one. A couple of you could do that with the Lychee app for the DJI drones too.
Yeah. Oh, can you? And Super H is saying the same thing. So
yeah,
that's good news.
Yeah. Because lots of people go out in the field and they're knowing Wi-Fi, maybe they don't have their phone with them, or I don't fly as remote as some people, but I usually have a good cellular connection to connect to my device to save the Wi-Fi over. But then that is good.
So see, we got another Better with the Drone is saying that Bill the Drone Reviewer just uploaded an DJI action video, so his must have come in.
Oh, excellent. Well, I would be sure to stop over at Bill the Drone Reviewer's channel and check that video out. I'm sure he'll do a good job on it. He's really excited. This is his first action camera, so he'll be extra excited as somebody like Marcus. Actually, the GoPro Hero is my Hero 7 is my first GoPro. I've had the knockoff action cameras in the past, but I've never had a GoPro branded one until the 7, because the hyper smooth stabilization was a seller for me. I wouldn't have paid $400 just for the 4K or the video quality. It was that hyper smooth stabilization that freed me up from having any type of a handheld gimbal in my hand anymore.
That's exactly what got me to buy it too. Hey, so I wanted to bring it. We got something else in the chat here. FSU grad is talking about that article that came out about the Chinese drone companies stealing data. I don't know. I heard about that a long time ago. It's been probably, gosh, a year or so ago. Our U.S. military got rid of all their DJI drones for that very reason. But I don't know that can be that's as big a deal as what it sounds like, because we're all uploading our video to YouTube and everything, so it's kind of universally available. And I don't know what they would get off of that, other than if you were over a sensitive military site or something like that.
You're not allowed to fly anyways.
Yeah, which you're not allowed to fly there anyway. And
the DJI drones probably won't even take off in those areas.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what some of the other people in the chat think, but I didn't really get too excited. I wasn't too worried about that one.
What's that? What, not to do with drones, but what's that giant Chinese company? They make phones and Wi-Fi equipment, and they're on the government list not to buy products from them anymore because they supposedly have spyware, in their devices too. It's a giant company, much bigger than
Huawei.
DJI. Yeah, Huawei. That they have a bunch of spyware too, which again, I mean, all this could be entirely true if the top people in the government, restricting products, But I mean, Huawei's been restricted by the U.S. government. DJI hasn't, and I'm sure they've been looked at. You know,
Well,
I mean, not
that
saying,
cost me about $10,000 today in the market because of a bunch of the stocks I own
yeah.
that sell chips to Huawei. Yeah, that was a bad
Yeah.
one.
So, you know, again, I'm saying they haven't been caught. Maybe DJI will be caught tomorrow, but as of right now, they haven't been, caught or put in a list of not being able to sell their products because of spyware or reporting back. And that's just the world we live in, with these interconnected devices. And, I guess it's possible it can happen. It could happen. But let's segue this into, we kind of saved this for the end of the show here because this is an endless conversation. And Marcus and I, we hate to get into this too much. I mean, other people have stronger opinions on it than we do. And we're not saying anybody's right or anybody's wrong on their opinions. And but the FFA rules that were released last week have caused a lot of worry and concern among drone flyers. Different people have different views of what it said and what it did say. What's your thoughts on it, Marcus?
Yeah, so those FAA rules, the FFA, Ron, I belonged to when I was in high school. That's the Future Farmers of America. The FAA. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm dyslexic. I'm always saying that things wrong. And I grew up in a farm town too, so we had those at my school also.
That's probably why you said it. I'm willing to bet that's why it's stuck in your brain.
A blue jacket and.
Yeah. But the FAA, the new rules, to me, it's, and I know a lot of people argue about it. It's a non-starter. In fact, it's going to be better for us as hobbyists once that Lance system is in place this summer. A couple of points that I want to make, and I know it's different for a lot of people. So very seldom do I ever fly in restricted airspace. I've actually only done that a couple of times in all the times that I've flown, and both times I called the tower and told them what I was doing. The last time I did it, it was with the Spark. I was out on the Snake River, and there was a little airstrip about 2 miles away. So I called the phone number. Of course, it went to an answering machine. I just said, "Hey, I'm going to fly," and that was it. But with that Lance system, you'll be able to do that right on an app, which will be very convenient. Now, the point that everybody's making that I think is legitimate is that in the interim time, if you're in a city or something where it's not easy for you to get out of unrestricted airspace, you can no longer call the tower to get permission. So what the FAA did is kind of a compromise. They said, well, you can go to an AMA authorized, what do they call it, flying zone, or I can't remember what they call them, and you can fly from there.
Where the people fly model airplanes.
Model airplane field, right, landing field. So that's a bummer, So those people are going to have to wait until either do that or wait until that Lance system is available. Once the Lance system is there, they're golden, and it will be easier than ever. In the meantime, you're just going to have to probably go find someplace with unrestricted airspace. I'm really lucky here in Idaho that I don't have to go very far. I've got a ton of different places I can go and be in unrestricted airspace.
Yeah.
How does it affect you, Ron?
Yeah, I'm lucky too. My house is not in restricted airspace. Even my shore house is in restricted airspace. And even though I'm in New Jersey and there is a lot of restricted airspace around here, most of the times I get to a spot, I pull out your app of choice, and you look at it. And if I'm in a restricted airspace, usually all I gotta do is drive a mile or two in a different direction, and then I'm not in a restricted airspace anymore. So it's easy for me to dodge them where I live. A simple, again, mile or two drive in some direction will get me right back into unrestricted again. But what I feel bad is for people, like I'll mention Bill Thomas. He lives in Everett is the name of his town.
Everett, Washington, yeah.
Suburban Seattle, sort of. It may not be.
They build big Boeing airplanes up there in Everett. They build the 747.
Anyhow, Bill's house is in a restricted zone. So he came and fly in his own backyard at tree level, legally now, until they get this Lance thing, computerized, that you could do it through an app. So he's the kind of people we feel sorry for, and I don't know how far he'd have to get in his car to drive to get out of restricted airspace, but I imagine it's more than a mile or two I would have to drive to be able to fly legally. But I did see a comment, and I forget who. Somebody mentioned Russ. I don't know Russ's last name. 51 Drones posted a video, and a lot of people have. And I've posted a lot of these. I've drone videos. 51 Drones, Billy Kyle, and Ken Herons, in my other group, RC World. I should have posted them to ZinoNation, but I've been posting them RC World. But anyhow, one of the commenters, and I can't remember his name, but he said that he went around and talked to all his local law enforcement, sheriffs and police and so on, and all of them didn't know anything about these changing these FFA rules. And they all said that unless somebody called and reported somebody misbehaving with a drone, that it wasn't on their, radar to go out and, try to arrest people for, flying in a restricted area, whatever. That's just not something the local law enforcement is really looking for at this point. Again, unless they get a report of somebody, flying in a bad way, so.
So John Coopy makes a good point. He said, it's unfortunate that they rolled it out before they had the Lance system available. They weren't ready, and I think that's absolutely valid.
Well said, John. That's the best point that could be said, really. And I see my buddy Cigar Nation Warriors is in here, and he's a very I don't know what you call it. He's very anti these laws. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but because he thinks it's government overreach, and I definitely see his point. I mean, I see both sides of it, really. I mean, I see the people that are really upset, like Bill Thomas and Cigar Nation Warriors, and then I see the people like, we'll say the Billy Kyles and the world that don't think it's that big of a deal. And again, it's a fine line between people that have their Part 107 and people that are just hobbyists, because I guess the Part 107 people can still get the approval to fly in restricted areas. So, but of course, that's after you pass the test and pay $150 to get your Part 107 license.
Well, so I'm one of those that I just don't think the new rules are that big a deal, and I think they're actually, in the end, when the final analysis, it's going to make it easier for us. But I'm also going to acknowledge that's really easy for me to say, because I live in an area where I can just go a couple miles and be out of restricted airspace. So throwing that out there.
Dennis says it's great flying in Utah, except for the national parks.
Hey, okay, so you just touched a little bit of a nerve for me there. So Dennis, I was driving across Idaho the other day, and there's a national monument called Craters of the Moon National Monument. And what it is, it's a big lava flow, right? And, I was thinking about how cool it would have been to fly my Mavic 2 out over that lava flow and take some pictures. But because it falls into that thing with the national parks, you can't even get permission to do it. And I don't know who that hurts if you're flying. I understand why they don't want you flying a drone over Old Faithful and Yellowstone Park, or they don't want you chasing the buffalo in Yellowstone Park with your drone. I totally get that. But I think they get a little nuts when so at the very least, could I just stop at the ranger station and say, get permission to fly my drone someplace? But you can't do it.
I know it's a story. I'm giving you an old story from more than 5 years ago in Yellowstone Park. Some tourists, flew the drone right into one of the geysers, and they said that actually that could, hurt the geyser in some way, maybe make it more active or something like that. So I mean, there is a valid,
There is.
reasons there, whatever. But like you said, it's a shame. Well, it would be a pay thing, but it's a shame you couldn't pay a certain amount of money, and a park ranger would take a bunch of drone flyers out to some place, and under their watchful eye, they would have to fly responsibly, early in the morning, where there wouldn't be, people around much. I don't know if you've ever heard, I think this is Utah. I think it's Utah, very southern Utah. There's these caverns, slot canyons. They have a name for them, but they're on Indian territory. And one of the Native Americans has to take you through these canyons. And I can't just come up with the name. It's world famous. It's a famous place for photographers. But you can't stop and take pictures of these, of the lake coming through. You can't clear everybody out. So you have to arrange for a special trip, a guided tour by a Native American to take you through to get the great photos you see the photographers get of the lake coming through. And they take you through the certain type of day, but it's all under the watchful eye of a professional guide. And again, it's a shame they can't do something like that at some of the national parks.
Well, or like I said, I mean, I'd say common sense rules today. I totally get why they don't want people flying over geysers, and they don't want people molesting wildlife and so forth. I totally understand that. And if you had, you're talking about southern Utah, they've got some really good parks down there, Zion, etc.
Right.
Yeah, it would be a bummer to have a bunch of drones flying around in Zion. I totally understand that. But places like Craters of the Moon, where A, there's nobody out there, and B, I just can't imagine what it's going to hurt. There should be a mechanism where you could get a permit or something to be allowed to do that.
Right.
Just saying. Yeah, and Dennis is saying what you're thinking of is Lake Powell. I was trying to think of that too.
Yeah, it's actually near Lake Powell, Dennis. It's just north of Lake Powell. It's these slot canyons, and it's real famous. You go to some location, and you pay this money, and then they take you out in trucks to the middle of no place. And like the most expensive photograph ever sold was taken at this location, and it's on tip of my tongue. I'll know when I go show. I want to shout out my buddy Mike Cruz, Birdman 316 RC. He's in the house. He's saying hello, guys. Enjoy the show out there, Mike. Mike has those new FFA. Yeah, did I say it right? FFA, right?
FAA.
Oh yeah. Hey, somebody in the comments made it. It's the same thing. So one of them made a joke. They said FFA, FAA. It's the same thing. But yeah, here you go, John Cooper saying. Yeah.
Farmers of America, do the green hand. Remember, John? You remember the green hand?
Hey, well, let's give a shout out to the future farmers of America, Marcus.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see. There was something else here I was looking at. Oh, yeah. Dennis was talking about being able to fly, that he wished he could fly at Bryce Canyon. Absolutely, Dennis. Would that be phenomenal or what? And I think there's places you could go out there where it wouldn't bother anybody. And I'm not saying that they should just let everybody willy-nilly go out there and fly their drones, but get a permit and say, okay, I'm going to this spot and I'm going to fly my drone. Well, I don't understand why they couldn't do that, because it's not going to hurt anything.
Or have a park ranger with you.
Even that, exactly.
Whatever, it may cost you $100, but you get a group of people, everybody's paying $100. It's got to make the worth the while for the park ranger or whatever. You may not get the money itself, but for the park, if they have a bunch of people willing to pay money and they take the groups out, and it's it's under the watchful eye of a park official.
Yep.
Well, not getting too far off the rails here. Where my shore house is, my town, Margate City, has no drone restrictions outside of whatever the FAA. I got it, Marcus. Has, but the next town north of me is Ventnor City, and Ventnor City, they have between Memorial Day and Labor Day, there's no flying drones at all.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing at all. Under 400 feet, and they know it's illegal over 400 feet, so they take it all out. But yeah, the whole town is drone free. I think that's on any public property, but Ventnor City is the type of thing where it's a small island, so the house is small. So if you have a backyard, the only drone you can fly in your backyard would be like that golden egg drone or whatever, it wouldn't be enough space to fly like a a roll drone like a whatever Phantom or a Mavic or something. I mean, they're all small properties.
Well, I told you about the state laws in Arizona when I went down to Arizona a couple weekends ago. So before I went down there, I took the Spark with me and I looked up the state laws, and they have a state law that states that the local jurisdictions cannot make anti-drone laws. And if it's a city and they have more than one city park, they have to make at least one of those parks dedicated or drone friendly.
So remember, everybody, when the next elections come up, only vote for a candidate that's drone friendly. Try to elect somebody that owns a drone, because otherwise, bad things are going to keep happening if you keep electing people that don't know anything about drones.
Well, the thing about the drone regulations too is that it doesn't seem to be a right or left wing issue. There's left wingers and right wingers both that are anti-drone, and there's also left wingers and right wingers that are both pro drone. So it's really a non-partisan issue.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but again, it'd be nice to have more people in office that actually, probably most of our elected officials think, drones are evil. They're spying on me and stuff like that. And as far as I know, I've never picked up. Well, nobody reads the newspaper, but I've never opened an article and seen, Joe Jones got arrested for spying in somebody's window with his drone. I mean, you hear all this stuff about spying, but show me somebody where somebody's actually been caught or arrested for it. It's like a myth.
Hey, so I'm just not looking at Better with the Drone is saying that, and I think he makes a great point. So people freak out over if they see a drone, but they think nothing of cars that just go flying through a crosswalk. And there's a number of those kind of examples that we can all think of, that it's weird that there's something about drones that just throw people off. And man, if you've got a big telephoto lens on your camera, if you want to spy, you can do a lot more spying with that than you can with your drone.
Right. Plus, they freak out about drones, but like if everybody that walks down your street has a smartphone in their pocket, and that smartphone has just as good as camera on it as 95% of the drones, a better camera than most, especially most toy drones, and they could all walk by your house videotaping, taking pictures or whatever, and nobody ever comes out and says, "Oh, we gotta regulate those camera phones."
Exactly. Yeah, and like you said, you talk about a spy device. Those things are, and they're everywhere is the deal.
Right. I mean, we all know that we've all seen the video where somebody's flew a drone over like animals that were mistreated, and like somebody flew a drone over that Indian pipeline story that was big a couple years ago, where they show like, I don't know, I don't want to get political, but some group or some people or government that are doing things they shouldn't be doing, but they want their privacy because they don't want to have the drone capture anything that they're doing wrong.
Hey, we got two really good comments here, Ron.
Go ahead, Marcus.
So Christopher H is saying that noise kind of ticks people off a little bit, and that's why Anafi, that's one of the strong points of the Anafi, and he is right on the money. I think you could take that Anafi places you for sure couldn't take a Phantom 4, and people wouldn't give it a second look. A, they don't hear it as much, and B, it just looks like a little toy or something. It does not look like some big thing that's going to scare them.
But before you move on with that, Marcus, but most times, no matter what drone I have, and I mean, I don't have the Mavic, the most noisiest drone, but most drones, once you get them up 100 meters in the air, nobody even knows if they're not looking for it, nobody even knows you're flying a drone. Most of the time, they just think you're some guy standing there playing with his phone, especially, if you have a small controller. So again, you get them up 100 feet, 150 feet, nobody knows you're flying anyways with it. Nobody can hear it anymore.
Absolutely true. John Coopy is making another really good point here. And he's talking about how Facebook and Google Maps, Street View, etc. just cracks me up when people put an ad on Craigslist, they're selling their car and they blur out their license plate. And I go, you know what? You're driving around on the street with that plate in full view all day long. All that stuff is out there. And if somebody really wants to know where you live, it's so easy to get on Google Earth or Street View, and you're just looking at their house. So it's yeah, if you're talking about privacy, there's not much you can do with that drone that isn't already out there on the web.
And you know, like lots of times I hear helicopters flying low over my house. Nobody ever complains that these helicopters are flying over their house, and they could have videotaping or filming just as well. Why is it only drones? Nobody complains about planes flying over their house. It could be spy planes. Again, helicopters. The only thing people don't want flying near their house is a drone.
Exactly right. Yep. So we probably beat that one to death, huh? And
yeah. You want to move on to take care of some business here before we wrap this up, Marcus?
Ooh, you lost me there. What business am I taking?
Well, first of all, we're not going to have a show next Monday because it's Memorial Day. So we're going to give everybody the day off. So, you know, go through your cookouts, spending time with the family. Don't ditch the family that come in and watch Marcus and I jabberjaw for an hour. So, but what we're going to do that week, we're going to do something very different that week. We're going to do a show for European fans, all one or two of them. We're going to do an afternoon show that's, and I don't quite know the time or day yet, but we're going to have it correspond to about 8 or 9 p.m. in the, we'll say in the UK and Spain. And we're trying to firm up plans now, but we want to bring in a big name YouTuber from Europe. I won't divulge any names because I don't want to put any pressure on him, but I mean, if I said this name, you guys would be knocked over. You know, it's a big name, a big drone channel. We're trying to get him on. He said he wants to be on, so we just got to firm the time, the day up. But again, it'll be, I'm going to say it'll be early afternoon for the East Coast. It'll be late morning for Marcus, and it'll be like about 9 o'clock for the people in Europe. And we'll do that, you know, whatever day works for him that week. So just stay tuned for more details of the time, and when we get a confirmation on the guest, and if we can't get him, we've got some other people in mind, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get him. So, Marcus, you have any comments on that?
Yeah. So this particular individual is well known, and yeah, I suspect that we should be able to lock that one down, and we'll kind of let him figure out what's the best day for him. And because it's a good week to do it because of Memorial Day, and everybody's going to be out picnicking on Monday anyway.
Okay, and one other bit of business. You know, we've named the show ZinoNation, and we want to stay loyal to all our Zino people. Marcus and I are going to continue to fly the Zino, but under the suggestion of the great Bill Thomas, you know, we think a better name for the show, and Bill and I kind of came up with this together. I think we may rename the show Drone Nation. And again, we're not getting up to Zino. We'll still have maybe Drone Nation, and we'll have, you know, like this show, we'll have a ZinoNation section of the show, and a Nafi Nation, you know, a Fimi Nation. We may even subtitle the show. If the Zino has a big update, maybe we'll call it Drone Nation, you know, Fimi Nation edition, or if the Nafi has a big news, or, you know, we're going to shift the show to whatever has a breaking news. Because again, we've all had the Zino. There was a lot of news early, but right now the news is coming slowly right now. So it's kind of hard to, you know, talk every Monday for an hour about a drone where there's not a whole lot going on now. So we're going to,
you know, all the time.
Right. And Marcus, I agree. We're going to try to mostly cover the we'll say the under 500 drone market. And not toy drones. We're going to cover, you know, drones like we just mentioned, drones that are affordable but still offer, you know, things like 4K camera, you know, good range, you know, FPV, all the stuff you really want, you know, kind of in the higher drones. You may have sacrificed a few things for these drones, but they still going to get, you're going to get 80% of what you can get out of the $1,000 and up drones out of these drones. And I want the thoughts of everybody in the chat room. I don't want to do anything that the people don't want us to do. But what are your thoughts on this, Marcus?
Well, that's exactly right. So what seems to really have kind of is very popular within the drone community now, because a lot of people paying $1,200 or $1,500 for a Mavic 2 just isn't feasible for a lot of folks and locks them out of the sport, or the hobby. So what has happened? That's why things like the Zino really took off like they did, is because it was affordable. And so if we're looking at that price range from, say, $250 up to $500 and maybe even a hair over $500, I think that's a sweet spot for a lot of people. Obviously, the Fimi fits there. The Anafi, because we were able to get that as a refurb, it fits within that group. And of course, the Zino Spark 2, we don't know what it's going to be priced at or what kind of features it has, but it could very well fit into that notch too. So and whatever else happens to come along that fits in there, I think that's probably be a good focus for the channel. Not that we can't talk about other things, but that will be the main focus.
Marcus, we got some breaking news here. You're sitting down. Brian Singleton, True Drone Reviews, received his Fimi A3 today.
That I did see that. That is, he did post that. That is flipping cool. I'm anxious to see that, Brian, because yeah. So Kolsky did a bunch on the Fimi A3.
Right while we got him here, Brian, when you were able to put that Fimi A3 through its paces, we definitely want to have you on the show. We'll call it, Drone Nation, the Fimi A3 edition. We want to put you. We want to, just question you about that thing and really dive deep into it, don't we, Marcus?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's nothing but good about it. The only negative that I've heard is that the screen the FPV screen can be difficult to see.
Well, I know who will test that out for us.
Brian will let us know.
Yeah,
and there might even be some salty language in there too.
Oh, well. We'll put the kids to bed early that night. But yeah, that said, I can't wait for Brian to come on and talk about it. He's friend of the show, and maybe we'll even have the egg drone on the show with us that night.
There you go.
Hey. And the 360, it'll be a JJRC night too.
There you go. Hey, well, you know what I see? Cigar Nation Warriors. He's joking around about the Visuo XS812. Let me tell you what, for an under $100 GPS drone, that thing is phenomenal. It's a freaking cool little GPS drone. Anyway.
Oh, we got Herb Flying High in with us. I'm subscribed to his channel. He's got a great channel on YouTube. Yeah, everybody sub Herb Flying High's channel, and everybody in the chat, sub everybody else's channel in here.
Hey Herb, I'm just hitting the subscribe button right now. Subscribe.
He hit the button. Marcus hit the button again.
Live on the air.
And now Marcus, when that Spark 2's released, maybe I don't know what night of day it'll be released, but maybe we could do a joint like buy button push like simultaneous.
Oh, let me tell you, I guarantee you, you'll have to. It'll take wild horses to keep me from hitting that button.
You've heard it here first. That's a guarantee. You don't often get a guarantee anymore these days.
Yeah. And I bet you Brian will get it too.
Let's see here. We got Perth West is back here. Perth is in and he's out. It's daytime for him or mornings. So he's probably busy running errands. Dave, we were talking about the beast while you were gone. Where everybody's sub Perth West OZRC's channel. He's got great content, great reviews. He's got that new beast drone in. We can't wait to see that fly. He's already got an unboxing. And Perth West does a lot of great videos. Marcus, did you hold up your new drone yet?
Well, yeah.
Grab it.
Yeah,
don't grab the Spark. Don't grab the Spark 2 yet, Marcus. That's still under NDA.
yeah.
Did you get the right one? Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't. Marcus, I'm sorry. I let everybody know you had that.
Yeah, I did. However, it's been raining a lot here, and I felt like I needed something to fly inside. So I got the little Tello Boost combo, they call it. Comes with 3 batteries. It's an open box, but it's brand new. Got it for $80. So
You hear that? That's a great deal.
yeah, that was on eBay, by the way. And then I got the controller. So got this new on eBay too for like $36. So yeah, into that whole thing for $116. I think that's not bad.
Dave's recommended his favorite Tello app, the Tello FPV app, but the problem is that thing is, I think, for Android only, and Marcus is an iPhone flyer like myself.
Oh, darn it.
Marcus, you may have to go out and buy a cheap Android phone to run that good app.
It could happen.
This is kind of somewhat unrelated. Did you get the link today I sent you for that app, LumaFusion, the full featured video editing app for the iPad and even the iPhone, if you could see it on that small of a screen?
Yeah, so $20. So I might just throw that on the iPad Mini and give that a shot.
Well, I'm going to hit the buy button with you because I've heard a rumor from a source of mine in South Africa that they're going to be releasing a update to it in the next few weeks. And the update, they'll raise the price with the update. I mean, you may be up, I think we can lock the current price, and we won't get charged if we have it locked in. But for new subscribers, I don't know how far it's going up. But again, this is just a rumor. This isn't fact. When I kid my sources, I have no inside source. Just a guy I know in South Africa. I don't know how he heard it. Said again, there's going to be a new version come out, and the price is going to go up. So if anybody's been looking at LumaFusion, this may be the time to buy and go YouTube some LumaFusion how-to videos, and you'll be amazed at what they can do, Marcus.
Yeah, I'll have to do some more investigation. Hey, Ron, so we're coming up on about an hour and a half here.
Oh, wow. We've talked too much tonight, so we're going to get ready to say our goodbyes then. So I appreciate everybody joining us in the chat room tonight. I see Ryan from RD Drone Reviews just got in here, but it's been a great group tonight in the chat room. We've had a lot of good questions and comments and tips. Again, I really enjoyed the show tonight, and throw it to Marcus for his final thoughts of the night, and we'll end this show.
Yeah, we covered a lot of territory, and because of Memorial Day, we won't have a show next Monday night, but we'll try and do one during the week that we can get during the day with some European friends, and hopefully some of the same people can make it here, although I know that can be difficult during the regular daytime hours. I am going to, one more thing to add is I am going to get the Zino out tomorrow, try out that new firmware. My intention is to test that maximum range. That's the main thing I want to test and see if it does the RTH or not. Then the other thing is hopefully maybe they did something about the way the drone crabs a little bit. That's always something we look at. I doubt if they fixed that. They didn't say anything about it in the release notes, but it's something that we want to look at. And
Marcus, real quick, I don't want to plan us into this, but how about tomorrow night? We usually talk on Facebook. Let's go in the ZinoNation group on Facebook, and maybe just 5 minutes go live on there, and we'll just get your quick impressions of it right on the same day you flew it. I mean, just yeah. So everybody in the chat, if you're not doing anything tomorrow, we'll say roughly, I don't know, 9 or whatever. We'll make an announcement sometime tomorrow if But maybe we'll just go live for 5 minutes on Facebook, not YouTube, on the Facebook channel, ZinoNation. If you're not a member, go over, sign up, whatever. Doesn't cost you anything. And, just look for us sometime around 9 Eastern Standard Time. And just short, 5 minutes. Marcus will give us our thoughts. You can ask questions, and then we won't waste your time. We'll get right to the heart of the matter. No comedy stuff tomorrow night. Just the good stuff. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah. So the only caveat I want to throw out there is if it rains all day, I won't be able to do it. But
right. We'll leave an announcement if
the weather,
you don't
I'll do it.
fly. Yeah, if you don't fly, we'll just leave an announcement.
Yeah.
So okay. Anything else, Marcus, before we hit the stop broadcast button here?
That's all I got, except for thank everybody for showing up. Hit that thumbs up button if you wouldn't mind before you go.
And tell all your friends about ZinoNation, soon to be Drone Nation.